Welcome. I'm your host, Malcolm Gallagher. From our BizVison studios in the UK, you are watching the BVTV Top Gun Sales and Marketing channel. Now, the world of marketing may have been transformed by digital, but what hasn't changed is the need to stand out, to be seen as an authority, the go-to brand. One good way to establish your personal authority is to write and publish a book. It's been said that everyone has a book in them, but it's the challenge of getting it out and into the marketplace that means that book usually just stays in the mind. So I thought it would be helpful to you if I chatted with someone who's done it. He's a musician turned author, and his latest book is Quiet Inspiration: 15 Ways to Break the Barriers of Your Untapped Success. So let's go to Toronto in Canada and meet Kory Livingstone. Welcome, Kory.
Well, thank you for having me here, Malcolm. It's nice to be on your show. And I just have to make one little correction. Instead of quiet inspiration, it's quiet determination.
Quiet determination. My apologies. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. Okay, Kory. I'm delighted that you're kindly guesting on the BBT Top Gun Sales and Marketing show. Authoring a book is certainly a good way of a solid marketing strategy. Now, in this BVTV talk show, viewers, I'll be talking to Kory about publishing a book in 3 parts: planning it, writing it, publishing it. First part, I'll ask him to tell us about the important part of planning your book. Part 2, we'll move to talking about writing it. And in part 3, we'll talk about publishing it, getting it to market and telling people about it. Kory, before we get into our 3-part talk, please briefly introduce yourself to my viewers and listeners. Who is Kory Livingstone and what led you to being an author? And what's that piano behind you?
Well, how long have I got? Well, basically, my primary career is that of a composer or musician. I concentrate now on custom-made songs. You know, I help people express their love and respect for those special people in their lives by creating beautiful custom-made songs. So, you know, they can feel like a hero when they give that gift without any fear of rejection or disappointment. Okay, that's what I do composing-wise.
Right.
Now, how I became a writer, I had a mentor many years ago, and he said everybody has a story in them, you know. And so I'm searching for how I had this story. Well, what story do I have? And you know, I had gotten the answer at least 10 years before this point. I didn't know, and I'll tell you how it came out. I was doing a do-it-yourself concert. That means you just go in, you have the venue. It was just 4 bare walls. Okay.
Wow.
And I had to turn it into a suitable concert theater for music. So I'd gone down there Saturday morning. I'd taken my car. I had my tool belt, my tools, my ladder. I had curtains. I had lights. And I'm up and down. I'm on my step ladder. I'm up and down, putting the light, hanging the lights, putting the theater curtains, blacks in there. I'm arranging the merchandise table. I'm arranging the snacks. You got to have snacks, right?
Yep.
At halftime. I'm doing all this. Okay. And it's normal. It's what you do, right? And you know, there's a grand piano coming in. I had to supervise that coming in, make sure it was tuned properly, and then the band had to come in, do a short rehearsal. You know, the band always gets off easy. The leader has to do all the work. They just how much am I getting tonight? You know, and so I did that, and it went off fine. And then about 2 weeks later, I got this note in the mail. It's you can see it's on a 3x3 blue Post-it note. I'm going to read it to you.
Yeah, please.
It says, Dear Kory, thanks for the check. I'd sent in a check to pay for the venue. So obviously this is the person who looks after the.
Yeah.
He says, I have admired your persistent, quiet determination and attention to details. It's far more than talent. It's a mature determination. I would do well to apply the same to my life. May God bless all of your efforts. Signed, Neil S. Now, who was Neil? He's the building custodian.
Yeah.
He'd been watching me set up for the concert. It was nothing to me, but to him, it was, look at this guy. He's got a single purpose in mind. He knows what he wants to do, and he's planned his work, and he's working his plan. Why aren't I doing that? I mean, that blew me away. And I didn't, just the fact that someone, I mean, that's pretty profound stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know, what does quiet determination mean? And I put that note on the shelf and sat for about 12 years. And then by the time I was writing this course, that's what I'm going to write about. I'm going to find out what he meant by quiet determination. And that was how I got launched.
Brilliant. Kory, let's kick off our talk in part one with planning it. I guess nobody suddenly sits down and writes a bestseller without some careful planning, such as who it's aimed at, what will it do for them, and so on. What's your thoughts on the planning it element?
Planning is number one. You have to, there's an old saying, you have to plan your work. And then even harder is working your plan.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out, you can start with the title. Some people say, well, you got to have a title that's catchy so people watch, but I say leave the title. That's the last thing you have to worry about. You can have an idea of what your title is going to be, okay? But you also have to have a subtitle of your book. See, now a subtitle gives people a little more answers. Like, say I had a book was called Wealth. That was the main title.
Yeah.
You look at, oh, that's so what? But if the subtitle, how to save money and retire before you're 50. Okay, that's the subtitle. So, gee, that sounds like something I want to do. So that's what you're thinking in the back of your head. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to have an idea. It doesn't have to be written, but before you start, look at that. Now, what you have to do is you have to think about, you have to start doing some brainstorming. Okay. And pen and paper in hand. So what type of book are you going to write? Motivational, inspirational, instructional, entertainment. Like, so to get that genre down. So and these are all things, and nothing is ever finished. You could have, you may have 5 or 6 types of things that you're thinking of, and add more to if you want, because you're going to narrow it down eventually to one. The main thing I would say to people is, and I know this is from composing, don't think while you're writing. Just write. Okay? Don't say, well, gee, this doesn't sound right, or this is not coming out right. That's kind of doesn't matter. Write the thought down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's one thing, and it's very important as a composer. I do that all the time. If I have few notes, it doesn't sound very good. Write it down anyways, because it's going to turn into something. Okay. So then you also want to know, who am I writing this book for? Parents, entrepreneurs, people looking for self-improvement, or I'm just writing it for whatever reason, but have a reason, and write it down. Okay, don't think it. Write it. Okay.
Excellent.
Now,
yeah.
You need a promise in your book. What is your book going to do? What value is it going to give the reader? Okay, now I'm not talking about, you have to write a novel. Okay, people think a novel. What you want to do is write about something that you are interested in. Okay, that's the main thing. Don't hang yourself before time saying, well, I have to do this. No, something that you are interested in. It doesn't matter. Cooking, gardening, horseback riding, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Making money. So you get that down, the subject, what are they going to gain? They're going to learn how to save money. They're going to learn how to make a cake. They're going to learn how to feel better about themselves. So, that's the overall thing about your book. And the benefits, and you look at the needs. So you're looking at the people you're serving. What are their wants? What do they need? What are they looking for? Now this may require some research. You just have to go and work and do these things. Okay. Then you have to look. Now, who do you want? Looking at a vision, because this is a resource book, maybe for students or somebody new in business can use. So what we're doing, we're fleshing out the uses and where your book will fit in this whole thing. So you have to know this. You have to know this.
Excellent.
Okay?
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Gotcha. Kory, before we move to part 2, I'd like to remind viewers and listeners of your website URL. Now, viewers, you can see it on the screen behind me of all the W's. Kory, Kory, Livingstone.com. I'll just spell that out for listeners, though. So listeners, all the 3 W's, Kory, Kory, and Livingstone is spelled Livingstone, Livingstone, KoryLivingstone.com. Kory, time for part 2, writing it. If someone's never written a book before, there must be certain technical things like its title, its content layout, its pagination that you need to consider, let alone its flow. What's your thoughts on writing it?
The hardest part of once you've got a plan is to actually get busy, okay, and doing the work. And just, you must keep this in mind. This is, you have to set a goal for yourself. Mm-hmm. Either it's daily or weekly or monthly. I will write for 1 hour a day, or I will write 1 hour a week, or whatever, or 30 minutes a day. You must do that. Now, even if you only write 2 sentences in that time, that's fine. If you have that, you will succeed. If you don't, oh, I don't feel like it today, you will not succeed. You have to, because there's so many people who have started, because I've been in such a, there's many people who sell courses on how to write books, and they get a lot of people paying a big sum of money at the beginning because they're all excited, and they do not finish their book. So what you've got to, the first thing you have to do is make a list of about 15 topics you want to talk about in your book. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, just think and write them down. Then reduce that to 10, the top 10. Okay. Now I'm just giving general figures. You can, depending on what your book's about, you may write down 20 and come up with 5, Then what you want to do is create around 18 to 20 ingredients. Now, what do I mean by ingredients for each chapter? What that means, so you're going to have ingredients like recipe. You need some salt, some sugar, some butter. Ingredients for book, you need things like, I'm going to tell a story, I'm going to have them do an activity, I'm going to get some quotes, and of course, 5 carrots or 2 pounds of carrots is like 5 stories or 2 stories. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. Yeah.
You're looking at all these ingredients. So you'll have all these. This is getting you. It's not. You're not even thinking yet. You're just getting ideas to push you. Okay. So you got 18 ingredients. Cut them down. Reduce that to about 3/4 the amount. Okay. So you'll have, let's say, 18 or so 20 ingredients. Now, what you have to do is, let's say ingredient's going to be a story. One of my ingredients is a story, and I'm going to turn a story into fact. Here's my fact. They said it couldn't be done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, to sit down and play the piano. I remember that's a famous one.
Oh, remember that? They laughed at me when at me when I walked up to the piano.
Yeah.
And they were right. Yeah. I couldn't lift it. But so then you turn that statement into a question. Who said, why do people keep saying this can't be done? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've got a question. And now Here's where you start to do some serious writing. I want you to come up with 3 answers to that question. Okay. And so that involves some thinking. It could involve research. But anyway, so you've got your first little bit, and you tell a story. Well, so it couldn't be, there was so and so and so and so, he couldn't do this, and blah 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 blah. And there you have it. You got your first story. You've got it, and people love stories, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's how you turn an ingredient into a statement, into a question, and then your writing part is you answer. And there you've written. If you write for about 5 minutes on that answer, you're going to have a paragraph that you can then later expand through research. In my book, I wrote from my experience, because I look back and say, I've been fairly successful. What did I do? Because trying to figure out quiet determination, and that's what I've done my life. When I'm figuring out what Neil said, what this question, quiet determination, means, I have a chapter about organization and scheduling. I've always scheduled.
Mm-hmm.
I got my most work done. I got the most achievements done when I organize not my day, my whole week. Okay. 1 hour doing at 7 o'clock, I do this. In the morning, 8 o'clock, I do 9 o'clock, I do this. And that's been a characteristic of mine my whole life. I like things organized. The house is messy, it needs to be cleaned up. I got a place for everything in its place. So I wrote about how that's affected my life. And then I did some research, because everything I wrote about came from my own, this looking at myself, what I did to make myself successful. And successful doesn't mean I'm not a millionaire. Now, I'm successful at what I do. As you're successful, if you're doing what you want to do, you're successful.
Yeah.
It's not money in the bank. And so I said, well, maybe people think I'm full of manure, because he's just spouting off. So I went and did research on my own discoveries. Scientific research, what the psychologists say, because it's all mental, right? The same thing. They backed it up and gave me more examples. So I included all of that. So in my book, I explained something, and then from my point of view, and then I backed it up with scientific proof, people from around the world. So I had 2 things, one from internal and one, if you think I'm full of it, so and so, these people also say the same thing. Voila. My credibility has been established.
Brilliant. But do you know, Kory, what I love about talking to you is your sheer passion about what you do. It is quiet determination, as you quite rightly say, but it's determination that comes across. Let's move to part 3, publishing it. That book won't achieve its objectives if nobody buys it, uses it, talks about it. We've got the finished manuscript now. What happens, and how do you make it a bestseller?
Okay, there's the big mistake right there. I want it to be a bestseller.
Ah, right.
Okay. I want to be the King of England. I want to be the Queen of so-and-so. No. There's only one queen. Okay. You can be the queen of something else.
Yeah, well.
Everybody, you ask a lot of young people today, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be famous. Okay. You're shooting at a mythical, something that says, like the old, what I referred to before. Most people think you're only successful if you're a millionaire.
No.
They're jumping off bridges, killing themselves. They have miserable lives all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not about being a bestseller. It's about you being the bestseller. Selling your book is about you being the bestseller that you can be, not the book. And so what that means is how can I use this book
Yeah.
to my advantage?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm my secondary, my other career now is coaching. Okay. I'm a coach and I have a book. I'm not going to sell it to you. I'm going to give it to you because you're going to take this book home and you're going to read it, hopefully, and say, he's got something on the brain. I must get in touch with him and see if he can help me out.
Yeah.
I've got a client. So what we do, what I'd say is use how you can use your book in business. How can you use your book to promote what you do? Okay. You
Right.
become the best seller of your book. Your book does not become the best seller. Okay.
Brilliant. I love that. Kory, that is brilliant. Great thinking, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can use it for whatever industry you do. You're a plumber.
Yeah.
You make
Yeah.
a book on home repairs. It doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah.
You're an electrician. Okay. It doesn't matter what it is. Real estate, you make a book on something that maybe people are on renovations, or you're an architect. You write about what you know, and there you have it. You apply it to your business, and you give these away because the book will cost you maybe, let's say when it's all said and done, $10. Okay, but you have a client that's worth a couple of $1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than if I give you a business card, you know where that goes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I give you a book, it's going to sit somewhere, and you're going to notice it,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I mean by you being the best seller.
I think that is brilliant thinking, Kory. Let me remind viewers again and listeners of your URL, which you can see behind me, viewers. And remember, listeners, it's Kory, Kory Livingstone, KoryLivingstone.com. I trust you've learned authoring a book can be not just a vanity project, but a serious contribution to your marketing strategy. Thank you, Kory Livingstone, for a great interview.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Malcolm.